For generations, the Pool of Bethesda was seen as holy, a place of healing, faith, and miracles. But when artificial intelligence began scanning beneath its ancient stones, what it uncovered was far from divine. Hidden chambers, strange patterns, and signs of forgotten rituals suggest something far more unsettling. The mystery of Bethesda isn't just solved, it's darker than anyone imagined. The place that shouldn't exist. For centuries, the Pool of Bethesda seemed more like a story than a real place.
I'm going to give up my shot at a miracle, and I'm going to help you in. And they take the paralyzed guy, and they throw him into the pools of Bethesda.
In the Gospel of John, chapter 5, verses 2 to 9, it is described as a pool near the sheep gate in Jerusalem, surrounded by 5 covered colonnades. Yet for historians, this description posed a puzzle. No known archaeological site in Jerusalem matched it, and many assumed the story was symbolic or a literary device used to highlight faith and healing. Some even believed the pool existed only in the imagination of the gospel writer. The name Bethesda added another layer of mystery. Some translations describe it as the House of Mercy, while others call it the House of Grace. A few ancient manuscripts even translate it as place of flowing or overflowing water. These variations made it difficult to link the name to a specific location. Still, the Gospel's detailed account, mentioning the pool's proximity to the sheep gate and its 5 porches, was unusual. It seemed too specific to be completely fictional. The geographical setting provides an important clue. Today, in Jerusalem's Old City, just inside the Lion's Gate in the Muslim Quarter, lies an area that matches ancient records of the Bethesda Valley. In ancient times, this valley collected runoff from nearby hills, making it a natural location for pools or reservoirs. The remains of large cisterns and channels found here suggest that it once played a major role in Jerusalem's water system. Over the centuries, however, the pool became more than a water source. It became a place wrapped in stories and fear. Locals whispered that the waters were sacred, yet unpredictable. Some said they shimmered strangely at night, as if something below was stirring. It was believed that angels occasionally descended to touch the water, causing ripples that could heal the sick. But others warned that those who entered with doubt or disrespect might face misfortune. These tales gave the pool an uneasy reputation, part sanctuary, part mystery. Travelers from different eras recorded their impressions. Byzantine pilgrims spoke of a site known for miraculous cures, but also for sudden tragedies. Medieval accounts mentioned the ruins of a once great structure where holy water met the cursed stones. Even in later centuries, people in Jerusalem told stories of those who came to pray at the pool and claimed to see visions or hear voices beneath the surface. Some believed the water held the power of divine healing. Others thought it contained the memories of those who had suffered there, as if the pool absorbed the pain and faith of generations. Its stillness seemed deceptive, hiding undercurrents that reflected both hope and fear. But if this pool was considered fictional by historians, what exactly changed their minds? The surprising details and ancient references made scholars begin to take the biblical description seriously. The place that once seemed impossible now stands as a remarkable connection between scripture, legend, and the mysteries that still linger in its waters. The dig that changed everything. In the 19th century, Conrad Schick made one of the most important discoveries in biblical archaeology, the first modern identification of the Pool of Bethesda. While studying the area near the Church of St. Anne in Jerusalem, he uncovered a large tank about 100 feet northwest of the church. Schick believed this matched the description found in the Gospel of John, where the pool was said to be near the sheep gate and surrounded by 5 covered porticos. His claim drew attention from scholars, historians, and explorers who had long debated whether such a place had ever truly existed. When excavations began, what they uncovered astonished everyone. Beneath layers of soil and rubble lay 2 large connected basins or reservoirs. These were separated by a central dam wall, which effectively created 5 sides or porticos, exactly as described in the Gospel. The southern basin contained wide steps and flat landings, similar to those those found in Jewish ritual baths, known as mikvehs. This design suggested that people once used it for purification and other religious ceremonies. The northern basin, on the other hand, seemed to function as a water reservoir, collecting and storing water for the city's daily needs. As researchers dug deeper, the site revealed even more of its complex past. Beneath later Christian and Crusader remains, archaeologists found the remains of Roman waterworks, which were themselves built on top of earlier Hellenistic foundations. This layering showed that the Pool of Bethesda had been used continuously for hundreds of years, evolving with each new civilization that controlled Jerusalem. Each layer reflected the culture, beliefs, and technology of its time. It became clear that the pool had not only been a source of water, but also a place of ritual and healing. The discovery confirmed that the Pool of Bethesda was not a poetic or symbolic idea, as many had once believed. The Gospel's description turned out to match a real and precisely built structure. The alignment between the text and the archaeological evidence gave new credibility to ancient writings that some had dismissed as legend. The stones themselves seemed to speak, linking the biblical narrative with material history. Further exploration of the site uncovered artifacts that hinted at more than just routine use. Items found around the pools suggested that people once performed healing rituals and religious ceremonies here. Some of these practices may have been influenced by pagan traditions before later being absorbed into Jewish and Christian customs. Offerings and small carvings found near the pool hinted at beliefs that connected water with restoration, mercy, and divine power. What began as a search for a lost biblical site turned into a discovery that bridged faith and archaeology. The Pool of Bethesda stood not only as a historical structure, but also as a symbol of Jerusalem's layered past, a place where water, worship, and human hope came together through centuries of change and belief. But once archaeologists dug deeper, the older and darker practices they uncovered beneath the healing waters shocked them the most, hinting at secrets that had been hidden for centuries. When stones begin to speak. The pools of Bethesda lie in the valley northeast of the Antonia fortress. The twin pools together measured about 131 yards by 55 yards, with depths reaching nearly 49 feet in places. Archaeologists found that a broad rock dike separated the two basins. This dike acted as the fifth portico described in the Gospel of John, while each of the four sides featured colonnades or covered walkways. The rectangular shape of the reservoirs and the colonnaded sides matched the biblical description of a five-porched pool. The purpose of these reservoirs was primarily practical. They collected rainwater for temple use, ensuring a steady supply for both ritual and daily needs. Over time, the pools became associated with healing. Evidence of a pagan healing sanctuary was discovered east of the pools. Archaeologists unearthed marble votive offerings shaped like healed body parts, including feet and ears. These artifacts showed that people had long regarded the site as a place where the sick could seek relief. In the 5th century, the Byzantine Empress Eudocia had a large basilica constructed over the pools of Bethesda. The church was known as Mary where she was born. Its central aisle covered the central rock wall, while the side aisles extended above the two basins. The front part of the basilica was built over the area that had once been the pagan healing sanctuary. The basilica remained an important landmark until 614, when the Persians destroyed it, and much of its masonry fell into the pool. During the Crusader period, a small chapel called the Church of the Paralytic was built over part of the ruined basilica. The facade, main entrance, and apse of the Crusader chapel still stand above the pools. This construction illustrates a common practice of building one church over another, preserving sacred sites while adapting them to new religious traditions. Over centuries, the pools of Bethesda saw multiple phases of use. They began as water reservoirs and ritual sites, later became a center for pagan healing, and were eventually covered by a Christian basilica and a Crusader chapel. Each layer of construction and artifact tells a story about the people who used the pools and the beliefs they held about its powers. The physical remains verify not only the location of the pools, but also the continuity of sacred and healing practices over many centuries. Stones, steps, and columns all speak of generations of human activity, devotion, and the search for health and divine favor. So if this was already a place for healing long before the gospel narrative, how did the event documented in John 5 change the game? Stay with us to know. The man who waited 38 years. According to the Gospel of John, chapter 5, verses 2 to 9, Jesus visited the Pool of Bethesda, a place near the sheep gate in Jerusalem. There he saw a man who had been paralyzed for 38 years, lying by the water and waiting for healing. The text describes the porticos of the pool as crowded with the sick, the blind, and the crippled, all hoping for a miracle. Many believed that when the waters were stirred, whoever stepped in first would be healed of their illness. This setting likely reflects how the pool was used in the first century as a place associated with both ritual and healing, much like the Roman Asclepian temples dedicated to health and recovery. On that particular Sabbath, Jesus noticed the man who had been waiting for decades. The paralytic explained that he had no one to help him reach the water when it moved, and each time he tried, someone else went ahead of him. Hearing this, Jesus asked him a simple but profound question: "Do you want to be healed?" Then he said, "Get up, pick up your mat, and walk." Instantly, the man was healed. After 38 years of paralysis, he stood, lifted his mat, and walked away. The archaeology of the Pool of Bethesda matches this biblical description remarkably well. Excavations revealed 2 large reservoirs connected by a central dam. This layout effectively created 5 sides, or porticos, just as the Gospel describes. The southern basin contains broad steps and platforms, the kind of space where people could have gathered and waited near the water. The covered colonnades would have offered shade for the many who came seeking healing. These architectural details connect the physical site directly to the story, suggesting that it took place in a real and carefully designed location. The famous stirring of the waters mentioned in the text may also have had a physical explanation. Scholars believe that the water movement might have come from the controlled opening of a dam between the 2 basins, releasing fresh water into the lower pool. To ancient onlookers, the sudden movement would have seemed miraculous. Over time, it became part of a sacred tradition linked to divine or angelic intervention. However, the healing of the paralyzed man did not bring universal joy. Instead, it caused immediate controversy because the miracle took place on the Sabbath. The religious leaders accused the man of breaking the law by carrying his mat on a day of rest. What began as a moment of compassion turned into a dispute over religious authority. To some, Jesus' act represented divine mercy and power, a sign that human need came before ritual law. To others, it appeared as an open challenge to the religious customs that governed sacred life in Jerusalem. The Pool of Bethesda thus became more than a place of healing. It became the setting of a conflict between faith, compassion, and tradition. If this event exposed such deep division, let's tell you what underlying realities were people so afraid to face, and what did the stones themselves begin to demand. Now, a new player has entered the scene: artificial intelligence, and what it has uncovered at Bethesda is terrifying. AI finally solved the mystery. Recent technological breakthroughs have taken the mystery of the Pool of Bethesda into an entirely new realm. Using underground imaging, muon detection, and artificial intelligence, researchers are now mapping what lies beneath ancient Jerusalem, and the results are both fascinating and deeply unsettling. Beneath familiar archaeological layers, scientists have detected voids, tunnels, and structural anomalies that suggest the area around the Bethesda site hides far more than what has been uncovered so far. Artificial intelligence has become a new kind of archaeologist, one that doesn't use shovels or brushes, but patterns, numbers, and light. It can process vast sets of data drawn from stone layers, mortar samples, and even mineral traces within the water channels. It can also read and compare inscriptions, linking them with known architectural records from across the ancient world. Through this, AI is uncovering connections that human researchers may have missed for decades. At Bethesda, these algorithms began noticing something remarkable: the layout of the 2 connected pools, separated by a central wall, and the presence of 5 porticos weren't unique to Jerusalem. They closely matched healing sanctuaries from across the Roman Empire. Similar architectural patterns were used in temples dedicated to Asclepius, the Greek god of healing. This raised a surprising question. Could Bethesda have once been part of a broader system of ritual healing long before it became known as a site of Christian miracles? The AI also examined data about the pool's water flow and dam system. It found evidence suggesting the pool may have had a controlled mechanism that allowed the water to stir or circulate at intervals. In the gospel story, it was this stirring that marked the moment when healing could occur. The new findings hint that this stirring might not have been entirely spontaneous. It could have been engineered. This discovery adds another layer to the mystery, connecting the biblical narrative to an ancient ritual practice that may have been both symbolic and mechanical. These insights challenge long-held assumptions. If Bethesda was once a known healing center that served pagans, Jews, and later Christians, then the miracle described in the gospel might represent not just a divine act, but a spiritual transformation of an existing sacred tradition. The pool may have witnessed many forms of faith, each adapting its meaning and rituals through time. This interpretation doesn't reduce the power of the story. Instead, it shows how deeply the human search for healing and hope has always been tied to water, ritual, and belief. The stones beneath Bethesda might not only carry traces of history, they might carry the memory of humanity's oldest attempts to reach for something beyond the physical world. Artificial intelligence has given these silent stones a voice. Analyzing every hidden layer helps researchers see the continuity of belief that connects generations and civilizations. Yet, the deeper AI looks, the more it finds questions rather than answers. The stones have spoken once. The AI has listened. But what if the next voice rising from beneath Jerusalem doesn't just confirm the past, it reveals a future no one is ready for? A bridge between past and present. Jerusalem is one of the oldest and most studied cities in the world, yet much of its past still lies hidden beneath its stones. Every corner of the city carries layers of history: Jewish, Roman, Byzantine, Islamic, and Crusader, all built one upon another. This overlapping of civilizations has turned Jerusalem into an enormous archaeological puzzle. Among its most fascinating sites is the Pool of Bethesda, located near the ancient Sheep Gate. Once a water reservoir and later a place of healing, this pool has long been a symbol of mystery, faith, and transformation. The Pool of Bethesda's story is deeply woven into Jerusalem's spiritual and physical landscape. Ancient texts describe it as a place where the sick and the hopeful gathered, believing the waters could heal them when stirred by unseen forces. Jerusalem's long and layered history makes it both fascinating and difficult to fully understand. Many of its ancient structures are buried beneath centuries of construction. Traditional excavation alone cannot reveal everything without risking damage to sacred areas. That is where artificial intelligence and modern technology have begun to make a remarkable difference. AI is now helping archaeologists study Jerusalem's past without the need for deep digging. Through ground-penetrating radar, muon imaging, and 3D mapping, scientists can look beneath the surface to detect voids, chambers, and hidden walls. These advanced tools can scan beneath the Pool of Bethesda and other sites, revealing structures that have never been seen before. AI algorithms analyze thousands of data points from these scans, identifying subtle changes in soil density, stone composition, and water channels that human eyes might miss. Researchers are also using AI to read and translate ancient inscriptions and texts found in and around Jerusalem. Some fragments of stone or parchment are damaged and incomplete, making traditional translation almost impossible. But AI can reconstruct missing parts by comparing symbols, linguistic patterns, and historical context. This has allowed scholars to interpret forgotten languages, including early forms of Hebrew, Greek, and Aramaic, helping them connect the Pool of Bethesda to older traditions of water rituals and healing practices. AI is also mapping artifact origins, tracing where stones, ceramics, and tools came from, and how they moved across ancient trade networks. These findings suggest that Jerusalem was not only a religious center, but also a hub of medical, cultural, and spiritual exchange. As AI continues to analyze Jerusalem's buried layers, it is uncovering not only structures, but also stories, voices of the past that were once silent. The Pool of Bethesda, once thought to be only a miracle site, now stands as proof of how faith, science, and technology can come together to reveal the hidden truth of history. Thus, The Pool of Bethesda continues to remind us how faith, history, and humanity often meet in unexpected ways. What do you think about this story? Was it a moment of divine power or a challenge to tradition? Share your thoughts in the comments below.